We'll be in Genesis here in just a moment. We see Joseph's life take off at an incredible pace. We have just been hanging out with Joseph as he keeps hitting roadblock after roadblock after roadblock. And it reminded me of the Incredicoaster at Disneyland. I was there a couple weeks ago for my kid's birthday. And you strap into the Incredicoaster and you kind of just start meandering through. It tells you a little story if you haven't been on it before. But you're on kind of a little story, and then you turn this corner and the thing kind of stops. You go, okay, what's going on? And then you hear the countdown, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and all of a sudden from 0, you feel like you're going 100 miles an hour, just that fast. And then all of a sudden you're up, you're down, you're spinning around. It takes you on this giant loop, and then you see it. You're going to go upside down, and it is delightful. I love it. We went on that ride so many times while we were there, and this is where Joseph is going today. His life is about to just explode. He could not have predicted this at all. Imagine with me the most luxurious palace that you can imagine. Joseph's been in the pit. He literally was in a pit. His brothers threw him in one, and then he's been in prison now for years. And the cupbearer, who was supposed to take care of Joseph because Joseph had interpreted his dream, forgot about him. If you've been forgotten today, Joseph understands that. That's the life he walked. He sat in that prison for 2 extra years until all of a sudden the cupbearer goes, oh, wait a second. Oh, I remember this guy. And why was his memory jogged? His memory was jogged because Pharaoh had this dream. No one could interpret it. And so let's pick it up in Genesis 41 on page 33 of your Pew Bible in verse 9. Then the chief cupbearer said to Pharaoh, I remember my offense today. When Pharaoh was angry with his servants and put me and the chief baker in custody in the house of the captain of the guard, we dreamed on the same night, he and I, each having a dream with its own interpretation. A young Hebrew was there with us, a servant of the captain of the guard. When we told him, he interpreted our dreams to us, giving an interpretation to each man according to his dream. And as he interpreted to us, so it came about. I was restored to my office, and the baker was hanged. Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they quickly brought him out of the pit. And when he had shaved himself and changed his clothes, he came in before Pharaoh. He is all of a sudden standing in front of the most powerful leader in the known world at that time. He's literally in prison, sitting in rags, hanging out, and they pull him in front of Pharaoh. Pharaoh who answers to no one. Pharaoh who in Egypt was considered a level of a deity, and this Pharaoh is now looking at you. Could I have your advice on something, please? Just imagine that. You woke up in prison this morning, okay? You woke up in prison this morning, and now the most powerful leader in the entire known world is looking you in the eyes going, I've got a problem, and I'm not quite sure how to fix it, but I think you can help me. That's wild. This is just insane. And what it is that Joseph knows how to interpret dreams. And so the dreams, you can see on this graphic up here, the dreams that Pharaoh has are 2 similar dreams. The first dream has a bunch of fat cows that are coming up out of the Nile, and then 7 fat cows come up out of the Nile, and then 7 skinny, mangy, nasty-looking, rib-showing cows come up after those 7 cows, and they eat the 7 healthy cows. And then you're left with 7 mangy, nasty cows who are just as gross looking as they were before they ate the healthy cows. Pharaoh wakes up. That was a weird dream. My goodness, I need to stop eating that stuff before I go to bed. Then he goes back to sleep and he has a similar dream. 7 healthy, wonderful, beautiful stalks of grain come up. And then these disgusting, withered, beaten by the east wind, wilting stalks of grain grow up after them and consume this healthy stalks of grain. But then they are no more healthy than they were after they consumed the healthy stalks of grain. Pharaoh goes, what's going on? Joseph said to him, the dreams of Pharaoh are one. This is verse 25. God has revealed to Pharaoh what he is about to do. 7 good cows are 7 years, and the 7 good ears are 7 years. The dreams are 1. The 7 lean and ugly cows that come up after them are 7 years, and the 7 empty ears blighted by the east wind are also 7 years of famine. It is as I told Pharaoh. God has shown to Pharaoh what he is about to do. There will come 7 years of great plenty in the land of Egypt, but after them will arise 7 years of famine, and the plenty will be forgotten in all the land of Egypt. The famine will consume the land, and the plenty will be unknown in the land by reason of the famine that will follow, for it will be very severe. And the doubling of Pharaoh's dream means that this thing is fixed by God, and that God will shortly bring it about. Now therefore, let Pharaoh select a discerning and wise man and set him over the land of Egypt. Let Pharaoh proceed to appoint overseers over the land and take 1/5 of the produce of the land of Egypt during the 7 plentiful years. And let them gather up the food of all these good years that are coming and store up the grain under the authority of Pharaoh for food in the cities, and let them keep it. That food shall be a reserve for the land against the 7 years of famine that are to occur in the land of Egypt, so that the land might not perish through the famine. Great job. Way to go, Joseph. You did it. Good job. Interpreted the dream. You're sitting in front of you. Pharaoh's impressed. Everyone's impressed. Excellent. If you're Joseph, you think that's probably the end of your interaction. Maybe. I'll go free. Great. I interpreted the dreams. I did the thing. Do I go back to the prison now? Like what's next? Like I'm in this moment and I'm in this situation. There is no way that Joseph would have assumed that verse 37 would have happened. This proposal pleased Pharaoh and his servants, and Pharaoh said to his servants, "Can we find a man like this in whom is the Spirit of God?" Instead of Joseph just interpreting the dreams and moving back to whatever he was doing, or maybe getting set free, he gets put in charge of everything. Everything. I mean, Joseph is wise and intelligent. We've seen his wisdom. We've seen his patience. But you can imagine the pressure of this new assignment, from the guy managing people in the prison to being in charge of the entire nation of Egypt, all in one day. Church, the God of the impossible is at work. That's your first fill in. The God of the impossible is at work, because this is just impossible. If you are sitting in the palace on that day, if you're a regular in Pharaoh's court, if you're sitting around Pharaoh's court, this is dumbfounding and ridiculous. You are watching this happen. You're going, this is a scam. Like, this guy is coming through. Like, who is this guy? We've never seen him before. I guess somebody said he works in the prison, and now what is happening here? It reminds me a little bit of like Jafar. Aladdin comes in. You go, "Oh, I'm so great." And Jafar's like, "No, I don't really think so. I think there's something else going on here." There's suspicion. People would have looked at this and gone, "What is happening? This doesn't make any sense." I was reading a story, a promotion by H&R Block. They offered customers a chance to win $1 million, okay? $1 million. Guess who the winners were? Glenn and Gloria Sims. They won. So H&R Block called them and said, "You won." And they said, "This is a scam." And they hung up. H&R called them back. No. You won. They go, "Stop calling us. It's a scam. It's a scam. It's a scam." And they just ignored. And H&R Block sent stuff by mail and emailed them and called them and tried to be like, "You won this thing." And so finally they said, "Listen, the chance to claim your prize is expiring at the end of the week. So do you want it or not? Like, this isn't a scam. This is real." And finally they decide to look into it. And then, of course, they realized, oh, this is real. And they accepted the $1 million prize right before their opportunity to do so expired. This is the level of absurdity that is happening in this moment. If you've read this story, a lot of times you go, "Oh, cool, wait, hey, God did some great thing for Joseph here." A great thing for Joseph would have been get set free, be allowed to go back and serve in Potiphar's household, be able to go back to where he came from, be able to return home, which was his desire, to be able to see his family and be with his family again. This is not just a nice thing. This is an absurd and ridiculous thing to happen. And this is what God wanted to bring about and to cause to happen. What I've found is that God moves honest, competent, wise people to the front of the line when a crisis happens. Just think about your own life. When something bad or difficult happens in your life, do you go to those dishonest, foolish, incompetent people that you know? No, you go, wait. Who's got wisdom? Who could help me in this situation? Who's got the know-how? Who has the honesty? Who is dependable that I can rely on because I'm in crisis and I need something? Those are the kind of people that we go to. Seek honesty and competence and wisdom as you walk through your life so that when things happen, when crises hit, when challenges hit, when difficulties arise, you are the one who can step in. You are the one who people can turn to and rely on and say, that is a dependable person. And even more than that, not just that is a dependable person, but that person has something about them that is other than it should be. This is not quite an individual who is just walking on their own. There is something about them that is different, that is other than normal, that is not quite natural. You know what that thing is? That is the supernatural work of God in your life. And people see that and go, oh, this is an individual who has been touched by the hand of God, who is walking with God, who is able to step forward and lead in a situation when I need their help. And we turn and we depend on God in those situations. And we find that the verse says, or it's a song, I'm pretty sure it's a verse as well, my God shall supply all my needs according to his riches and glory. And Trinity can tell me later whether that's a song or a verse, but that is incredibly true. God has everything that we need, and we rely on him. Pharaoh said to Joseph, since God has shown you all of this, there is none so discerning and wise as you are. You shall be over all of my house. This is verse 40. You shall be over my house, and all of my people shall order themselves to your command. Only as regard to the throne will I be greater than you. And Pharaoh said to Joseph, see, I have set you over all the land of Egypt. Then Pharaoh took his signet ring from his hand and put it on Joseph's hand and clothed him in garments of fine linen and put a gold chain around his neck and made him ride in his second chariot. And they called out before him, bow the knee. Thus he sent him all over the land of Egypt, set him over all the land of Egypt. Moreover, Pharaoh said, I am Pharaoh, and without your consent no one shall lift up hand or foot in all the land of Egypt. And Pharaoh called Joseph's name Zaphenath-Paneah, and he gave him in marriage Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, a priest of On. So Joseph went out over the land of Egypt. He is in this position of incredible significance and power. And it is just a wild transition. This should shock us. This should dumbfound us, because why would Pharaoh do this? Pharaoh actually tells us. Pharaoh tells us in that passage that we just read, verse 39, this is the reason why. Since God has shown you all this, there is none so discerning and wise as you are. That's his reason. None of my other wise people could help me with this problem. There was no one else who was able to do this. And I see that you have God's power in you and with you. You see, Pharaoh is being introduced to the one true God here. Joseph walks in the power of God, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the Abrahamic covenant. He is part of the people of Israel who the Judeo-Christian faith is founded in and recognizes and sees, oh, this is the one true God. This is the only God. You see, Egypt had other powers, right? There are other powers in the world. We see this some chapters later when Moses arrives and is attempting to set all of the Israelites free from Egypt. And that's 400 years down the road from this story. But he shows up and he does a number of miracles. And some of the sorcerers in Pharaoh's court at that time were able to kind of replicate to a degree some of those little things that happen. Like Moses takes a staff and throws it down and it becomes a serpent. And the sorcerers are able to produce somehow a serpent as well. And what happens? Moses' serpent eats those serpents. The power of God greater by degrees of, incredible degree than any other power that exists in this world because God created all things. And so Pharaoh is sitting here going, oh, this is a different kind of power. I've never seen anything like this. I've not seen wisdom like this. The person who is able to interpret these dreams is walking with God. And I need to put them in charge of this situation because they can lead this forward. And it's not just that Joseph interpreted the dreams, because Joseph interpreted them, but then what did he also do? He also gave an action plan to Pharaoh. Here's the interpretation, and then based on that interpretation, here's what you need to do, and so go do those things, and then everything and everybody will be fine. I mean, Joseph just cooked up this action plan on the spot. Or it's the fact that God gave him the interpretation of the dream and gave him the action plan that would carry Egypt through all of this. Pharaoh sees God's hand on Joseph and moves to rely on him. You see, God prepared Joseph in the pit. God prepared Joseph in the pit. Why was Joseph ready for this new assignment that is set in front of him? He's ready because he learned obedience to his father. He learned obedience to his parents in his house as a child. We see that as Joseph is walking, while he is certainly a little bit arrogant and certainly clueless of certain things that are happening, he learned how to obey his dad and walk in the family business and learn how to follow orders. He did these things. And then why else was he ready? He was ready for this new role because he suffered mistreatment by those who were closest to him. His brothers betrayed him and threw him in a pit to kill him and then sold him into slavery. And what did Joseph do during this time? He stayed faithful to God. Why else was Joseph ready? Because he served Potiphar well. He went into Potiphar's house and he served Potiphar well. And he didn't just serve Potiphar well, but he became a leader in Potiphar's house, taking care of all of the things that Potiphar needed, where Potiphar didn't even give one single care or bit of concern to anything that was underneath Joseph's care because he was so trustworthy. And then why else was Joseph ready for this second in command position? Because he was betrayed by Potiphar's wife. He was taken into this moment where Potiphar's wife wanted to sleep with him, and he said, no, we are not going to do that. And then as he flees the scene and flees the situation, she twists a story that he then gets thrown in prison for, convicted as guilty. And why else do we know that Joseph is ready for this assignment? Because in prison, he stayed faithful, serving the people who are around him. He didn't see it as, I'm done, I give up, I'm finished, but he saw this as an opportunity where he could continue to serve. And then he, in the prison, was given the opportunity and the authority to lead in the prison, and the keeper of the prison didn't give any concern to anything that was underneath Joseph's care. The same phrasing that was used about Potiphar's household. And then what happened? Then we get the cupbearer and the chief baker. They show up, and then Joseph interprets their dream, and it's wonderful. And then they totally overlook him and forget him. And so Joseph endures for 2 more years in that situation and in that time. Why was he ready? He knew how to hear from God and stay faithful no matter what. He did not go to number 2 in Egypt preparation academy, as you might expect for somebody who's going to be in charge of such a massive role, but he walked with God. In whatever situation God put in front of him, and he exceeded in it. He worked hard at it. He was diligent in it, and God's favor was with him. Colossians 3:23 says, whatever you do, work heartily, as for the Lord and not for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the inheritance as your reward. You are serving the Lord Christ. Who is Joseph serving? Joseph is serving God. Joseph is not even serving Pharaoh. So now he's arrived, right? He's arrived. I mean, this is it. I mean, he gets Pharaoh's spare chariot. He's got a great ring. He's got a gold chain around his neck. He's got a really nice robe. Anyone seeing this come around full circle? Really nice, fine linen robe. He is driving through Egypt on this chariot, and what's happening? All were bowing down to him. Do you remember the dreams that he had at the beginning? He is seeing something happen. He's arrived. No, he's just begun. See, that's the thing we sometimes think. I've arrived, I'm here, I've arrived. Oh my goodness, my promotion has finally come in. The relationship is happening, the marriage has happened. I've finally achieved that level of influence that I was looking for. I've finally gotten that job. I have arrived. You've just begun. You've just begun. Why did I go through Joseph's whole life? Because everything that Joseph had walked through was not God saying, Joseph, once you go through these things, then your life will be complete. But Joseph, once you go through these things, I'm going to be with you for the next assignment, which will be the biggest and hardest assignment that you have faced yet. It's called the arrival fallacy. Psychologists analyze this quite a lot. And a psychologist named Dr. Ben Shahara writes this: these individuals start out unhappy, but they say to themselves, it's okay because when I make it, then I'll be happy. But then they make it, and while they feel briefly fulfilled, that feeling doesn't last. This time, they're unhappy, but more than that, they're unhappy without hope, because they lived under the illusion or the false hope that once they make it, they will be happy. Joseph made it, but what did he understand? He did not make it there for himself. He didn't make it there for an opportunity for him, but he made it there as an opportunity to serve God. Whatever you do, work heartily as for the Lord and not for men, knowing that from the Lord you will receive the inheritance as your reward. You are serving the Lord Christ. So whatever it is that you are doing in your life, when you have the perspective that I am here for Christ, it changes the whole perspective of it. Oh, can I be happy in this situation? Will I be able to be fulfilled now that I've made it? You're already fulfilled. You're already happy because you have Jesus Christ, and whatever it is that Christ will lead you through and guide you through will only be an opportunity for you to walk with him, serve him, and share the message of Jesus in every single opportunity that you get. Amen, church? That is what we get. So when we walk through these things, don't step in with this arrival fallacy conclusion. What did Joseph do? Sit back for a while? No, he got right to work. And so he goes out all around Egypt. Joseph was 30 years old when he entered the service of Pharaoh, king of Egypt. And Joseph went out from the presence of Pharaoh and went through all the land of Egypt. During the 7 plentiful years, the earth produced abundantly, and he gathered up all the food of these 7 years which occurred in the land of Egypt and put the food in the cities. He put in every city the food of the fields around it. And Joseph stored up grain in great abundance, like the sand of the sea, until he ceased to measure it, for it could not be measured. His role is to prepare them for the impending famine. And he does such a good job that they lose the ability to count how much grain they have. And these are not just some backwater folks who don't know how to do math, okay? These are the Egyptians. Pyramids, right? They're quite good at this sort of thing. They lose the opportunity to figure out how much they have because the volume is so great, they didn't have a way to measure it. That's how good Joseph was at his job, okay? He knew what was going on. As an administrator in a role like this, Joseph's work would have touched every practical area of the entire nation's life. He would have been required to learn about legislation, communication, negotiation, transportation, methods of food storage, building, economic strategizing, forecasting, record keeping, payroll, handling of transactions by currency, bartering, human resources, the acquisition of real estate. Just to name a few things he would have to learn. His extraordinary abilities with respect to God and people did not operate in separate domains. It's not like he goes, okay, well, I'm over here worshiping God. All right, now I'm done. I'm over here. I got to get to work. I got to go do these things of helping Egypt, the genius of Joseph's success was in the effective integration of his divine gifts that God had given to him and his learned and acquired competencies. For Joseph, it was all godly work. And so when we walk into our jobs, into our situations, into our days, into our homes, into our classrooms, all of us is there. It's not just part of us, all of us. And Joseph walked in with that attitude and took this forward. We can see very clearly that God orchestrated all of this for Joseph. You're reading the text. That's great. Wow. He lined this up for Joseph. That's fantastic. Good job. God is the same as he was to Joseph, as he is to each one of you. So if God is lining things up for Joseph, that means that God is paying attention to your life and organizing and guiding and directing things as well, because he didn't pick someone else. He picked you, and he placed you there. So where are you? Are you in that class, in that relationship, in that group of friends, in that tennis club, in that home, in that job, in that role? God did not pick somebody else. He picked you. And you might be just as shocked as I am, like, wait, what is this? Like, wait, God picked me? Yes, God picked you. God put you there. Proverbs 16:9 says, in their hearts, humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps. James 4:13 through 15 reminds us, listen, you who say today or tomorrow, we're going to go to this city, spend a year there, carry on business and make money, why you don't even know what's going to happen tomorrow. You're a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. Instead, you ought to say, if it is the Lord's will, we will do this or that. God is orchestrating the steps of your life, and you are where you're supposed to be. So if I'm supposed to be here, what does that mean? That means that God has a purpose for it. God has something for you to learn. God has someone for you to serve. God has someone for you to share Christ with. There is purpose and reason for it. And you might look at your life and say, man, my life has not been easy. I did not like these rough patches that I've endured. Remember, Joseph's pathway to arrive at being now the second in command in Egypt, went through betrayal, spending time in a pit, slavery, falsely accused, and imprisonment before he moved into this role that all of us would look at and say, yeah, I really want that one. Wherever you're at, this is where, right now, God has you. This is where you're supposed to be. It's not meaningless. It's not hopeless. It has purpose. Hard to see it when you're in it. Little bit easier to see on the other side. So let's ask God, if I'm supposed to be here, show me why. Show me and let me serve you. And then let's get ready. Let's thank the Lord, give him glory, and step forward into it. 1 Corinthians 10:31 says, so whatever you eat or drink or whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. Do it all for the fame of God. Sometimes we use the word, hey, let's glorify God. And you go, yeah, what? How do I glorify? Let's make God famous. Okay, there's another way to phrase it. Is what you are doing bringing increased fame to the name of God? Let's glorify him. Whatever you eat or drink or whatever you do, do it all for the fame of God. Did Joseph do this? We see that he did. Look there in verse 50. Before the year of famine came, 2 sons were born to Joseph. Asenath, the daughter of Potiphar, priest of On, bore them to him. Joseph called the name of the firstborn Manasseh, for God has made me forget all the hardship in all my father's house. So God has brought me forward out of these places of deep darkness and difficulty. God has allowed me to put that behind me. The name of the second he called Ephraim, for God has made me fruitful in the land of my affliction. He came to Egypt and he was afflicted there, but now he says, I see that God has made me fruitful. And so he named his children the declarations of what he wanted people to understand about his life whenever they walked through. Hey, who's this one? Oh, this little one has made me forget my troubles. Who's this little one? Oh, this is the one that's God blessed me in the land of my affliction. Aren't these two cute little kids, right? This is his declaration. This is one of his ways of showing what it is that God did. God made me. Joseph says that. That's his phrasing. God made me forget. God made me fruitful. It is not him. It is God working in and through him. The 7 years of famine, verse 53, 7 years of plenty that had occurred in the land of Egypt came to an end, and the 7 years of famine began to come. As Joseph had said, there was famine in all the lands, but in all the land of Egypt there was bread. When all the land of Egypt was famished, the people cried to Pharaoh for bread. And Pharaoh said to all the Egyptians, go to Joseph. What he says to do, do it. So when the famine had spread over the land, Joseph opened the storehouses and sold to the Egyptians, for the famine was severe in the land of Egypt. Moreover, all the earth came to Egypt to Joseph to buy grain, because the famine was severe over all the earth. Pharaoh continues to defer to Joseph's wisdom. And the thing about increased responsibility, increased difficulty, will also level up as well. When you get that new level of responsibility, the amount of challenge and difficulty that you have to face is always going to level up as well. Gordon MacDonald says, being a leader is wonderful, but is not without its price. You look at Joseph and go, man, that would be such a great role to have. Really? Do you really think so? That is a hard role to have. And Joseph was ready because he trusted God's preparation all throughout his life. I'll talk to people and they'll be dissatisfied with where they're at. Dissatisfied with their current role, dissatisfied with their current state of life. Oh, I wish I only had this. Oh, I wish I only had that. And they'll look at their boss or look at their situation or their teacher and say, oh my goodness, I could do a better job than that bozo. I could do a better job than that person. I can't believe they're making the decisions that they're making. If only I was in that role, I would run this place totally different. It would be so much better. And you look at that and you see that and you hear those things, and I hear those things, and sometimes the individual's right. Okay, maybe you could make different decisions if you were in that role, but you're not in that role right now. Where are you right now? And in this space that you're currently in, how can you develop your leadership capacity and how can you develop your emotional capacity so that you can lead differently when you are in that situation, when you get to sit in that seat, when you get that promotion and that opportunity to exert your influence in a new way? Because God is going to be developing something in you. That angst that you feel, that dissatisfaction with the way that some of the things are done, is an opportunity for God to say to you, let's grow you in your leadership ability. Let's grow you in your emotional capacity so that when all of the stuff that's currently hitting the person sitting in that chair hits you because you're sitting in that role, you'll be ready to deal with it well. You'll be ready to respond in a wise way. You will be ready to embrace and endure with people and to lead them forward well. Mature in the Lord and bring people around you to help guide you and build you up and encourage you in it. I'm going to tell a story about a lady, Irene. Karen Miller tells this story. She's a leadership coach. And one Sunday morning, Irene, a church leader in her 70s, was setting up the communion table. Karen Miller is trying to help. They're setting up and guiding a new church plant. And Irene is one of the ladies who is helping with it. Karen says, I noticed that she went around and made sure everything was in order. And people did whatever she asked them to do. Afterward, I asked Irene, have you ever considered that you have a leadership gift? Absolutely not, she said. I'm just an ordinary woman, housewife, and mother. I'm not leading, I'm just serving. Some months later, our young church received a visit from a Rwandan church leader. He told the church of how he dreamed of starting an orphanage and school for children whose parents had been slaughtered in the genocide. We decided to help. Can we hold a banquet to raise funds? Irene agreed to help put on the banquet. When she visited the possible caterer, she somehow convinced the caterer to donate most of the food. Irene talked with the banquet hall. They gave her a deep discount. So did the tech people. No one could tell Irene no. On the banquet night, over 200 people came, and enough money was raised to build the school and its first dormitory. Karen teased her afterwards, Irene, that was amazing. Maybe you are a leader? And Irene laughed, for she finally had to acknowledge the truth. And every May from then on, Irene led the banquet again. Now they would see photos of kids who had lived on the streets and never brushed their teeth, flashing broad white smiles. Boys who'd been malnourished, their arms and legs painfully thin, now ran and jumped across the courtyard on strong legs. Girls who'd come dressed in rags showed off their neat school uniforms. After Irene went to be with the Lord, the orphanage named a dorm after her. And only then was it discovered that she had single-handedly covered 1/3 of the school's operating costs through the banquets all of those years. Where are you at? God is excited to use you as a leader. The title of the sermon was, "It's Not Going to Be Easy." I want you to get your page out and write something underneath that. It's not going to be easy. It's going to be awesome. Let's pray so you can go get to it.